Gertie Spurling here with 7 Adelaide's afternoon news. Making news this hour. The $2.4 billion plan to save Whyalla went live to the Steel City. Plus, SA's hydrogen power dream put on ice, jobs on the line. Peeping Tom breakthrough, police arrest a man accused of creeping out Adelaide families. Another close call at the bottom of the freeway, reigniting calls for a ban on trucks. And the Crows in power to unveil some new faces in tomorrow's pre-season showdown.
Live from Adelaide, 7 News starts now.
Good afternoon. A $2.4 billion rescue package has been announced to save the city of Whyalla. Live to Michaela Kamarek. Michaela, the Prime Minister has joined the Premier in the Steel City.
Gertie, it's safe to say that locals were relieved to see Anthony Albanese and Peter Malinauskas together here this morning. The pair received a warm welcome at the steelworks, with workers cheering and taking selfies as the two leaders made their way through the crowd. Together, they unveiled a multi-billion-dollar rescue package, which will be rolled out in 3 parts. $100 million will provide on-ground support, including $50 million to assist impacted creditors. $348 million will ensure the steelworks can operate during administration, while the largest portion of the package, $1.9 billion, will be given to the new owner of the steelworks when and if there is one, of course, to upgrade infrastructure.
We want to make sure that there's a 5th and a 6th and a 7th generation steelmaker here in Whyalla, and that's what today's about.
We don't want a rerun. We want to set it up for the future. We want to do it properly this time.
Today's announcement comes after Peter Malinauskas brought in administrators and seized control of the steelworks. Locals I've spoken to are feeling cautiously optimistic. The funding package is, of course, a significant and welcome boost, but many are still aware that the future of the steelworks remains unknown. Gertie?
OK, thank you, Michaela. Hayden Nelson joins us in the studio now. Hayden, what does this mean for the Premier's hydrogen power dream?
Gertie, the hydrogen project was supposed to be the jewel in the crown of the Iron Triangle's clean energy transition, but with more pressing issues, it's looking more and more like a white elephant. The almost $600 million put aside for a hydrogen energy plant has been folded into that $2.4 billion steelworks investment. The Premier saying hydrogen energy has been deferred and not shelved, but wants to keep the hydrogen power office open and the majority of its 50-odd staff employed. The government admitting this afternoon in question time there will still be redundancies.
The Office of Hydrogen Power we maintained because we know, and the science tells you, that in order to decarbonise iron and steel making, you need hydrogen, and there is a future for that. But the large functions of that office will be curtailed and wound back.
Vincent Tarzia has also been in Whyalla visiting the pub and getting his boots dirty. The opposition estimates somewhere around $100 million has already been spent on preparing for hydrogen in Whyalla, including the purchase of gas turbines, money the government may not see again. The Hydrogen Office Chief Executive Sam Crafter is also set to remain in the job on a $600,000 annual salary.
Well, I think it's now up to the Premier to justify why this guy deserves a salary north of $500,000 a year. By the end of the 4 years, this guy would have been paid $2 million. I mean, that is an obscene amount of money, especially for a project that is now being shelved.
Gertie, the Premier is adamant the hydrogen dream isn't over and work will continue on a hydrogen plant capable of powering the Whyalla steelworks, but that is looking a long way off. Gertie?
Thank you, Hayden. An Adelaide photographer who indecently assaulted 4 girls, one as young as 10, has been labelled an animal. As Deanna Williams reports, he's been jailed for 6 years, but with time served, could be out by November next year.
Michael Townsend appeared by video link from prison while the public gallery was packed with the young victim's parents and grandparents.
Fighting back tears, they're still reeling from the impact of his heinous crimes.
We've lost our granddaughter through all this. Sorry.
An animal is disgusting.
Michael Townsend, photographer, father and convicted sex predator, groped 4 girls, the youngest just 10, during photo shoots at his home.
There's 4 children involved and they're quite young, and it's changed their lives forever. An animal a sick animal.
The judge said police also located 390 child abuse images on his computer, as well as search terms which included child sex and child orgasm. At least one of his brazen crimes was committed against an autistic child, another in full view of a grandparent.
I just couldn't believe what I'd seen.
When it happened, my first reactions was I wanted to beat hell out of him. I wish I had it now.
The court heard Townsend has already been offered a job once he's released from custody and continues to have the full support of his wife. He was jailed for 6 years with a non-parole period of 4 years and 9 months.
This sentence, it's a joke.
Townsend's sentence was backdated to the time of his arrest, making him eligible to apply for parole in November 2026.
Viewer reaction to exclusive vision on 7 News of a peeping Tom peering through windows of homes late at night around Adelaide has led to a breakthrough. Police have arrested a 56-year-old man from Salisbury and charged him with 6 counts of trespassing. Residents reported suspicious behaviour at homes in suburbs including Glenelg North, Norwood, Theberton and Beulah Park between January last year and 2 days ago. The suspect was granted police bail to appear in the Adelaide Magistrates Court on the 22nd of May. An off-duty nurse has helped rescue a truckie trapped in the wreckage of his rig at the bottom of the southeastern freeway. As Peter Caldecott reports, the crash has reignited safety concerns about heavy vehicles using Portrush Road.
Enrolled nurse Rhiannon Boo was heading home from the RAH on a bus at 6:30 last night when she watched the shocking truck rollover.
I looked up and I could see the truck kind of just fall last minute. It was very slow motion and then everything just shattered and it was like a tsunami of glass everywhere. It sounded like thunder.
Rhiannon told the bus driver she was a nurse and asked him to stop.
I got off, ran up. The truck driver was already up out of his seatbelt, trying to get through his windshield. I was just ripping the glass open to try and get him out.
And in doing so, she suffered a nasty cut to her hand.
Luckily, he just walked away with scrapes and bruises, and that was about it.
The member for Bragg, Jack Batty, has been campaigning for a heavy vehicle bypass via Truro to stop interstate trucks travelling down the southeastern freeway.
This is the 6th or 7th major crash we've seen at the bottom of the freeway since 2010. I mean, how many more tragedies do we need to see before the government finally takes action to get trucks off of Portrush Road?
Pretty strange request from them, given that they upgraded Portrush Road to take more trucks.
That intersection is so notorious for events like this. I just wanted to make sure that the truck driver was okay, make sure that there was no other casualties or any other injuries.
Heavy vehicle enforcement officers from SA Police are investigating how the crash happened.
A learner motorbike rider has been seriously injured in a crash at Anglevale. The 19-year-old Lewiston man collided with a car and then a traffic pole. Emergency services rushed to the intersection of Riverbanks and Anglevale roads just before 7:30 this morning. The driver, a 39-year-old woman, and her passengers were not physically hurt. Major crash officers are investigating. Now to dramatic pictures of the moment a massive scrub fire threatened Morphett Vale homes. The deliberately lit blaze broke out in a wetland reserve near Marston Drive around 8:30 last night. Locals say the area attracts antisocial behaviour and it was only last week that someone set bins on fire there.
This happens literally once every 2-3 weeks. Happens down there, all the reeds over there. Down over here recently it's happened. There's a big gum tree down there. They've tried to light that up about 5 times.
Police are now hunting for the arsonist. Federal police have arrested a Sudanese refugee living in Adelaide for breaching his strict visa conditions. The 34-year-old was released from detention following an extraordinary High Court ruling in 2023. It's alleged he has failed to comply with his curfew. He's faced a magistrate this afternoon. We'll have those details in our main bulletin at 6. Australia's Air Force and Navy are tracking 3 Chinese warships off the east coast this afternoon. As Josh Martin reports, the ships sailed as close as 150 nautical miles off Sydney.
Good afternoon. The Defence Department won't say where the Chinese warships are right now, but is keeping a close eye on them. It was a week ago when it was first revealed a Chinese frigate named the Hangyang passed through the Torres Strait. It's since joined 2 other ships, a cruiser and replenishment vessel, tracking their way down Australia's east coast. Overnight, the Financial Times revealing the warships went through the Coral Sea as far south as Sydney. The Albanese government says China is obeying international laws, but our military is actively watching as the relationship hits a bumpy patch. There was another incident earlier this month when a Chinese fighter jet dropped flares in front of an Australian patrol plane over the South China Sea.
This task group is acting in accordance with international law. They're entitled to be where they are. Australia's also entitled to be prudent.
We're an island nation. We're surrounded by water. We should have a much bigger and stronger navy.
Last night, China's top diplomat to Australia was in the audience as spy boss Mike Burgess delivered his annual threat assessment. The ASIO director says foreign spies are aggressively targeting our defence sector. Military personnel were recently given gifts with surveillance devices hidden inside.
AUKUS will remain a priority target for intelligence collection, including by countries we consider friendly. ASIO has identified foreign intelligence services seeking to target AUKUS.
The spy boss says authoritarian regimes are becoming more willing to destroy critical infrastructure to limit our ability to fight wars.
Australia's unemployment rate has increased. Figures for January were released this morning showing it's risen from 4% to 4.1%. 10,000 fewer people had part-time employment, but 54,000 people found full-time work.
More evidence that under the Albanese government, wages are rising, jobs are rising, all while bringing down inflation and, of course, seeing a very welcome interest rate cut for Australians.
The Reserve Bank has noted the surprising resilience of our unemployment figures as a reason we might not see further rate cuts for some time. RBA Governor Michelle Bullock will front Parliament tomorrow. Donald Trump has unleashed on Ukraine's president, accusing him of being a dictator and playing America like a fiddle. Volodymyr Zelensky has pushed back, claiming the US president is living in a Russian-made bubble of disinformation. Blake Johnson reports.
Donald Trump really has gone to the next level in his war of words here, calling Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, failing and unpopular, and blaming Ukraine for Russia invading it.
I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered, and millions of people have unnecessarily died.
Earlier, Trump posted this, calling Zelensky a dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. Reaction to this has been one of shock from European leaders to American politicians who say this is close to Russian propaganda coming from the US president.
It's disgusting to see an American president turn against one of our friends and openly side with a thug like Vladimir Putin.
Regarding Ukraine, Europe and the world now stand at a crossroads, says the Swedish Prime Minister. We will continue to support Ukraine.
This war is far more important to Europe than it is to us, and that there's a very big, beautiful ocean, a separation.
As soon as Mr. Trump made those comments online, they became headline news in Russia. Meetings between US and Russian officials yesterday are followed tomorrow by US and Ukraine officials.
The goal of the meeting was precisely to increase trust between Russia and the United States.
It is crucial for us that the meeting and our overall cooperation with America be constructive, says Ukraine's president. Ukraine can't call an election at the moment because it's under martial law, and with so many Ukrainians displaced and Russia controlling much of that country's eastern flank, you'd have to ask just how fair and impartial a Ukrainian election would be today.
Pope Francis is said to be showing signs of improvement as he remains in hospital for bilateral pneumonia. He received a high-profile visit from Italy's Prime Minister, who says the pontiff was alert and full of humour. Joel Dry has the details.
There has been a welcome update on the Pope's health out of the Vatican City. Authorities, after earlier saying that it was a complicated picture, now saying that the Pope is stable. They say blood tests show a slight improvement, particularly in inflammatory indices. And after breakfast, he read newspapers and then did some work activities. We know now that he is suffering bilateral pneumonia. That is a condition affecting both of his lungs. And it is well publicised that part of his right lung was actually removed many years ago after he suffered an infection. We know that part of the work he is now able to do includes receiving some visitors, and today he was able to spend some time with the Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, who reported that she was relieved to find him alert and responsive. So it definitely looks like being a day-by-day prospect, this recovery. While it is trending in the right direction, there are other reports suggesting that Vatican authorities are already starting to prep for his funeral. So on one hand, we have good news about his health, but on another, a slightly more pessimistic outlook. Everyone, of course, not just Catholics, keeping their fingers crossed that he can make a full recovery.
Patients with leading Australian IVF provider Genea say they're frustrated with a lack of communication following a cyber attack. Customers claim they've been left in the dark after the data breach was discovered yesterday. The company says it's taking steps to secure its network, but it's been unable to confirm if private medical records were compromised. Genea runs 21 fertility clinics nationwide. South Australians living in the regions are set to have better access to lung cancer screening. Up next, see the world-first battery-powered technology about to hit the road. A tale of survival, we meet the man who was bitten by one of the world's deadliest creatures. Why telco complaints have surged since October. And later, why the famous Million Paws Walk is about to take its final steps. A life-saving mobile lung cancer screening program is set to be rolled out to regional South Australia. Trucks fitted with world-first battery-powered technology already operate in Queensland. Over the next 2 years, the screening service is being expanded nationally.
This is really about bringing the best doctors, the best technologies on the road to small communities so that they can be checked for lung cancer.
An example of the mobile units is on display at this week's Lung Cancer Conference at the Adelaide Convention Centre. A Sydney man is counting his blessings after surviving a blue-ringed octopus bite. He picked up what he thought was a shell, but less than 2 hours later, he was lying in an intensive care unit, paralysed. Paul Caddock has the story.
Good afternoon. The father of two telling us that he's lucky to be alive after being bitten by a blue-ringed octopus here at Balmoral Beach on Sydney's North Shore.
Jean-Paul Kalman says he'd just been walking in waist-deep water.
I picked up a little shell, as I always do, just like a little oyster shell. As I looked down on my thumb, there it was, this little tiny yellow octopus with flashing blue lights, flashing blue rings.
No pain, no sign of a bite, but within 20 minutes his thumb went numb, his quick-thinking ex-wife driving him to hospital where he became completely paralysed.
I was telling myself, move your body, why aren't you moving your body? Then all of a sudden it just felt like this weight, felt like a huge clamp was just pushing down on my entire body. And again, I could hear the nurses saying, breathe, we need you to breathe properly.
He was in an induced coma for 20 hours. Then the day after discharge, he collapsed, paralysed at a supermarket, hospitalised for 4 days before recovering. The blue-ringed octopus is one of Australia's most venomous creatures, and there is no anti-venom treatment for its bite.
We know that blue-ringed octopus do have a very powerful venom, but they only bite if they're hassled. They're definitely shy, so they're definitely trying to stay away from people.
If in doubt, just go to the hospital. I was going to be macho and your traditional man, and if I had have been, I'd be dead.
Mossman Council putting out a message to the community urging people to take care, particularly around rocky tidal areas, and that if you suspect you have been bitten, to call 000 immediately. From Balmoral Beach, back to you.
Crews have begun to clear the wreckage of a Delta Airlines plane which crashed on the tarmac of Canada's busiest airport. 2 of the 5 runways have been closed since the jet flipped upside down and caught fire upon landing on Monday. 21 people were injured and almost all of them have since been released from hospital. 100 million people are right now under extreme cold weather alerts as a new winter storm barrels across America's east. Arctic air has plunged temperatures to life-threatening lows. 6 centimetres of snow has been dumped, an unusual sight, and there's more to come. Parts of the upper Midwest are experiencing extreme conditions, North Dakota dipping to minus 37 degrees Celsius. And a large sinkhole has swallowed up a road in the centre of a Surrey village in the United Kingdom. It's doubled in size within a day to at least 20 metres long, and a second opening has appeared. 30 residents had to be evacuated from their homes. A new report has revealed the shutdown of the 3G network has caused a surge in complaints to the telco watchdog. We spoke with the telecommunications industry ombudsman earlier today.
We've come to rely on mobile phone coverage in particular, working in a way that supports every aspect of our life. And, maybe 20, 25 years ago, you could stand outside on a farm with your hand, maybe one leg in the air and your hand up trying to get reception. That's not how people have come to expect to use their phone, but it's the story of what people are telling us now. It is patchy, it is inconsistent, and it's putting people's lives at risk when they've lost access to essential services. We've heard from consumers who have previously had access to telehealth services that supporting them when they've got cancer diagnosis and things like that, who've had to drive an hour to get reception to be able to have a telehealth appointment. That's without even needing to access 000. They're really finding it quite difficult to manage any aspect of their life. Absolutely let your telco know that you're unhappy. You don't have to call up. There are other ways like web chat and things like that people can raise a complaint. They have the right to complain. So it's the inconvenience factor, but when lives are put at risk, there is absolutely a need to do better. And there's a number of government processes out at the moment that's really focusing on lifting those standards to make sure that telcos meet the expectations of the community that they're here to serve.
Well, not all heroes wear capes, and it seems not all thieves wear pants. Police are trying to track down two crooks caught on camera robbing a house in Melbourne. The man fully dressed, the woman less so. The pair forced entry, stealing clothing and jewellery before taking off in the owner's Porsche and Mercedes. Detectives are hoping you might recognise them from these pictures. Pity she didn't put some pants on before getting in the car.
Yeah, probably a good idea. Maybe they should check out Maslin's Beach. We had the 50-year anniversary over the weekend. Maybe they're hanging out there, or she's hanging out there.
Less items to steal at Maslin's, though, I think.
That's true. Probably not a fruitful place to steal from.
No, not at all. Tom, footy season, it's just around the corner.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it, Gertie? And we're just 14 days until opening round. And tomorrow we're going to get our first look at a heap of fresh faces when the Crows take on the Power in a pre-season showdown in Mount Barker. And when it comes to the colour of a cricket ball, SA's Travis Head's colourblind. The Aussie star's vowing to stick to his attacking style no matter the format. The Champions Trophy's just coming up as well.
Thanks, Tom. Looking forward to it. A major Adelaide charity event is coming to an end. Up next, why a million paws will walk no more. Overseas, another aviation disaster in the US after two small planes collide mid-air. And later, Apple launches a brand new iPhone at a reduced price. The RSPCA has announced it'll pull the pin on a 30-year-old fundraiser. This year's Million Paws Walk will be the last. Joining me now from the RSPCA is Vanessa Mercurio. Good afternoon, Vanessa. I'm sure this was a difficult decision to make. What was the driving factor?
It absolutely was a difficult decision to make. I think at RSPCA, ultimately our mission is to ensure we get the best care for animals in need. And so since the pandemic, the cost of living has definitely risen, and also the fundraising landscape has changed too. So we need to make sure that we consolidated our efforts and put everything in the best interest of the animals.
The walk was a major fundraiser. How can people support the charity now?
There are so many ways people can support RSPCA. We rely very heavily on donations from incredible people at home just like yourself who fundraise and put money for RSPCA's support. And so we still will continue to do this and support people who are open to community fundraising and helping RSPCA out in that way.
The final walk is in May. Are you expecting a bumper turnout given it will be the last?
We hope it is a massive turnout. We are so excited. Although it is sad that this will be our last, we think it's an incredible opportunity for everyone to come out, bring their dog, have a good day, and we think it's going to be an incredible turnout. We're really excited to see everyone at Adelaide Botanic Garden on the 25th of May.
Vanessa, how much is typically raised during the Million Paws Walk events?
The Million Paws Walk is nationally a massive community fundraiser that we have in RSPCA, and over the last 3 decades we've been able to raise $17 million. So that's a huge amount.
Thank you, Vanessa, for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Motorists have leapt into action to stop a runaway car on a highway in New Zealand. They noticed the driver was hanging out of the window as the car drifted between lanes.
What's this dude doing?
I don't think he's okay.
It's understood the driver had suffered a medical episode. He was pulled from the car and taken to hospital. 2 people have been killed after 2 small planes collided mid-air in Arizona. The aircrafts crashed near a regional airport which doesn't have an operating traffic control room. It's the 3rd deadly aviation incident in the United States in the past month. Scott Morrison has shared his embarrassment after revealing an old photo album ended up in an op shop by mistake. A TikTok user randomly stumbled across the memories at a Salvo's in Sydney and posted the discovery online. The former Prime Minister is asking for the scrapbook's return, saying it was accidentally left in a box of items the family had donated. There's just one sleep to go until Fringe fever sweeps the city. Amelia's at Gluttony, which opens to the public tonight. Amelia, how's it looking?
Well, Gertie, gates are set to open here within the hour with thousands set to descend on the city's east end over the weekend as the Fringe officially opens from tomorrow. Now, some die-hard Fringe fans have already been given a sneak peek with some shows opening in the last week here at a few venues in Gluttony, but also over the road at the fully open Garden of Unearthly Delights. But from tomorrow, the season proper begins with more than 1,400 shows on offer in the Fringe this year. And don't forget, next weekend, the Adelaide Festival gets underway as well. So festival season is nearly here, and that does, of course, signal the start of road closures in the city's east end over the next few weekends as well. So that's one to keep in mind, Gertie.
Thanks, Amelia. We'll have your latest finance news from ING after the break, plus new details on Apple's new affordable iPhone. And what did archaeologists unearth in this hidden Egyptian tomb? Now let's check in with Rosanna on what's coming up at 6.
Thank you very much, Gertie. Coming up tonight, analysis on the $2.4 billion plan to save Whyalla. The Premier and Prime Minister giving the people of the Still City reason to smile again today. How the money will be spent and why former boss Sanjeev Gupta says the government was wrong to put the steelworks into administration. Also at 6, we've had a peeping Tom breakthrough. Police have arrested a man who was caught on security cameras lurking around homes right across through windows. The 56-year-old facing multiple charges. Plus some sad news for an Adelaide fundraising favourite. After being held for decades, the RSPCA's popular Million Paws Walk is calling it a day, blaming the cost of living crunch. And Gertie, as you well know, this year will be the last one held. So fingers crossed that it does come back in the future. Those stories and, of course, more tonight.
Thanks, Rosanna. Let's hope so. Archaeologists have unearthed the first pharaoh's tomb in Egypt since Tutankhamun's was discovered more than a century ago. This one belongs to King Thutmose II and his wife, King Hatshepsut. Inside the tomb, a team of researchers discovered furniture and relics which could provide fascinating new insights into ancient Egyptian civilization. To finance now, and the local share market has fallen heavily on what was a busy day of profit results. Here's James Tao from ING Bank with more.
Good afternoon. The Aussie market has continued its recent slide, falling now for a 4th day in a row. The ASX 200 suffered its worst day in around 2.5 weeks with a decline of 96 points or 1.1%. Losses were led by the major banks and miners, with earnings from Fortescue and Rio disappointing the market due to falling iron ore prices on lower Chinese demand, and that certainly ate into the profit for both companies. Fortescue shares slid around 6%, while Rio Tinto was down close to 1.5%. Super Retail Group, which owns brands such as Super Cheap Auto and Rebel, tumbled 13% as lower margins ate into profits. Telstra, though, was a winner today with the telco's earnings beating expectations. It also improved its interim dividend to shareholders and announced a $750 million share buyback. The Aussie dollar has lifted slightly, is buying around 63.6 US cents after more jobs were added to the economy than expected.
There's good news for those looking to score a new phone on a budget. Apple has released its newest model, offering consumers big features for a small price. Tech editor Sean White has the details.
Yeah, good afternoon. Well, this is the iPhone 16e. Previously, this lineup, the budget range, was called the SE. That is no longer the case. The home button is also gone, but the name in itself shows that it's an extension of the latest lineup, the 16, which was launched in September last year. But this is priced at just $999. What does it have? Well, it has the same chip as the standard 16 model, which means it's powerful and it comes with AI features. And it also has a big battery that is 12 hours more than its predecessor. There are a few things missing though. There's no wireless charging. It does have a single camera that is doing double duty, which has telephoto capabilities, and it comes with an aluminium finish instead of titanium. But this won't matter to a lot of people who are looking to save money. And as we head into March, it's being called the time for mid-tier devices. That is phones priced between $500 and $1,000, with Samsung expected to release their A series soon, Oppo their cheaper Renault models, and Google with their more budget-friendly range.
A Western Sydney couple has been given an engagement gift they could never have imagined by none other than rapper Drake. Getting down on one knee, Sanjay Lal proposed to his girlfriend Deema, capturing the star's attention. The Canadian singer announcing he would send them on a honeymoon and give them $25,000.
It was such a surreal moment to have thousands of people cheer us on, and I'm a huge Drake fan, and you know, to have Drake part of that proposal was something just extraordinary, to be honest. Like I was so blown away, and people screaming, and what a proposal, you know.
The moment has been viewed by thousands on social media. I wonder if they get to pick where they get to honeymoon.
No, it's pretty cool, isn't it? Did Bill propose to you at a rock concert?
No, he didn't. I won't share that story. That one's for another day, I reckon, Tom. Let's move on to sport. Pre-season showdown teams, they're locked in.
They are, Gertie. I think I'm more interested in that, but there are some big names missing for the Crows. Coming up, we're going to tell you who's in and who's out for tomorrow's clash in Mount Barker. And the Tigers skipper who's relishing the chance to keep their historic premiership streak alive. Hello again, the teams are in for tomorrow afternoon's pre-season showdown in Mount Barker, with both the Crows and Power unleashing their prized new recruits. For Adelaide, Alex Neil-Bullen, James Peatling, top draft pick Sid Draper and father-son Tyler Welch will all play. Isaac Cumming will be managed while Isaac Rankin's ill. For Port, Jack Lukosius will play up forward, as will first-round pick Joe Berry and former Collingwood small Joe Richards. Jeremy Finlayson is expected to play in defence, while Sam Powell-Pepper remains on track to play round one after missing most of last year with a knee injury. Power young gun Dante Visentini has turned down interstate interest to stay at Alberton for a few more years. The 202-centimetre ruck forward signed a 2-year extension after playing 7 games in his 4 years at the club.
Been fortunate to snag some appearances at AFL level, so I'll obviously keep pressing my case for that.
The promising big man had off-season knee surgery, but will fight for the number 1 ruck role with Jordan Sweet and Ivan Soldo throughout the year.
Older than I am and have a lot of experience in different areas, not just on the ground, but yeah, I feel like I've been able to, battle it out a bit and sharpen each other up.
An opportunity could also arise in Port's injury-depleted forward line, with Todd Marshall sidelined for the season with a torn Achilles. Melbourne superstar Christian Petrarca has given 7 News a rare interview after a tumultuous year for the club.
I think last year was a great case of Brisbane, for example, playing your best footy at the right time. So for us, it's about constantly improving day by day, getting better, improving. We've got such a young, exciting list as well, and guys like myself need to step up and actually help the younger generation and develop them and make them become better, because in 5 years' time, I'm going to be 34 years old and probably playing full forwards.
Petrarca missed the second half of the season after suffering sickening internal injuries in the King's birthday clash against Collingwood. The D's finished 14th last season. Tigers premiership skipper Liam McBean is embracing the extra expectation as Glenelg aims to claim a historic three-peat this season. The Jack Oatey medalist and 5 of his teammates are gunning for a 4th Tigers flag that would see them surpass club legend Peter Carey.
I actually told him a couple of years ago that I was coming for him, but realistically, Super Carey's an absolute legend of the footy club. to be a part of a side that potentially does what no other Glenelg side's ever done would be something that I'd be immensely proud of.
We'll have more from McBean in our news at 6. Switching back into one-day mode won't be a problem for South Aussie Travis Head at the Champions Trophy. The Aussies took time out to meet some of the cricket-obsessed kids in Lahore ahead of their opener against England on Saturday night. Whatever the format, Head's approach remains the same.
Am I ever out of white ball mode? No format really bothers me too much. So here it's pretty cutthroat. It's pretty much knockout, and you got to start well.
The tournament got underway in Karachi overnight. New Zealand defeating co-host Pakistan by 60 runs. Well, Head's South Aussie teammates are in a good position on day 3 of their Shield match against Tasmania. That's at Adelaide Oval. Resuming with a 264-run lead, the middle order frustrated the visitors after retiring hurt with a migraine yesterday and being hit in the head today. All-rounder Liam Scott made 69.
Hits that well. Over the head of deep square leg into the seats in the eastern stand. So Liam Scott clears the rope in some style.
SA was bowled out for 388 a short time ago. Tassie was 2 for 82, needing 299 runs to win. Football now, and Real Madrid sent Man. Well, the future of supercars will be on show when the season begins tomorrow night at Eastern Creek in Sydney. Teen whiz kid Kai Allen, a junior go-karting champ and winner of the Super 2 category, will take on the big boys in his full-time debut for Penrite Racing.
Yeah, it's daunting. I'm a young kid on the grid, but if I didn't do what I've done in those junior years, I don't think I'd be, have that confidence leading into the first rounds.
19-year-old Allen and 22-year-old Matt Payne will form the youngest driver pairing in almost 2 decades. The Saturday and Sunday races are live on 7 and streaming on 7+. That's our sport for now, Gertie, but we'll be back with Soda, of course, at 6 with all the team details for that pre-season showdown in Mount Barker. And for South Australian cricket, they're really on the cusp of making a one-day and a Shield final the same year. It will be pretty impressive.
That would be very impressive indeed. And looking forward to the pre-season showdown too. It'll be interesting to see them out on the track.
Yeah, fantastic. And always a lot of talk in pre-season. Everyone's flying. We'll see how they're really going.
Thanks, Tom. Well, we've got more sunny days ahead before it really heats up by the weekend. Stay with us. Amelia and Mulcahy will have the latest weather details next.
Forced into administration after an unprecedented move.
GFG are no longer running the Whyalla Steelworks.
The Whyalla legislation passed in near record time.
It's been an overwhelmingly positive reaction.
The team that never stops. 7 News. Unstoppable.
Hello there, Steve Murphy at the Storage King Traffic Centre. Got urgent electrical works causing some delays at the moment for southbound traffic on Bryden Road. That's near Bothwell Avenue in Seacliff Park. And slow down for cameras today, Melbourne Street in North Adelaide and Malala Road in Two Wells. Moving home, don't do it alone. For every stage of life, Storage King has hassle-free storage solutions. Store before the end of Feb and get 1 month storage free. Search Storage King. Conditions apply. That's the latest traffic. Back to you, Gertie.
Thanks, Steve. Time for more on the weather now, and Amelia joins us again from Rymel Park, and Mills crowds are just beginning to roll up to fringe venue Gluttony.
Gertie, that's right. Gates have just opened here with Gluttony, officially open for festival season. Now, diehard Fringe fans have been able to see a few shows in the last week or so here, but the venue is officially open from tonight, and you can check out the full program, plus around 30 of the food and beverage options that they've got here on site as well. A great night for it too. In the city, we hit a top of 27.5 degrees a short time ago at around 4:30, and it comes after another fresh start. Our low was 13.5 degrees. Right now it's sitting around the 26 degree mark, but with light southeasterly winds around, it does feel a couple of degrees cooler. Elsewhere, another mild summer's day in our eastern capitals. Currently 17 degrees in Hobart, just 20 at the moment in Melbourne, 23 in Sydney. There is the odd spot around Brisbane this afternoon, not worth riding home about, barely a reading in the gauge, but there are showers inland in Queensland as well. And in the west, 29 in Perth currently, with showers in parts of WA as well along a trough line there. In SA, well, we're under the influence of a high pressure system to the south of KI. It's heading east, and over the next 24 to 48 hours it'll begin to send hot, dry northerly winds our way before a cold front rolls through Saturday into Sunday, delivering a cool change. For now, it is looking a touch warmer across the state tomorrow. Up to 40 degrees in Moomba, 37 the top for Murray and Coober Pedy, 38 in Ceduna. Further south, a dry day across the board. Sunny and 33 in Port Lincoln and Whyalla, 36 the top for Port Augusta, 24 for Clare and Kadina, up to 33 in Nuriutpa, 30 the top for Victor Harbour, 35 in Murray Bridge and Renmark, and up to 31 in Mount Gambier. In the city, down to 15 degrees overnight, then expect plenty of sunshine tomorrow. 33 degrees the forecast top, before heading up to a hot top of 38 on Saturday. Gertie.
Thanks, Amelia. And that's all from 7 Adelaide's afternoon news team. Will and Rosanna will have our next bulletin at 6 o'clock, but from me, it's bye for now.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app now.